Hello and welcome to Unacademy. I welcome you all to this session. So we have an update for the UNESCO Tangible Heritage List, and looking at the pattern of the paper, any update into the UNESCO Tangible or Intangible List is very important because it is directly coming in the examination. So Sarnath has now been pushed into the representative list of the UNESCO Tangible Heritage List. Now, if you remember, if you've been following current affairs for the past 1 year, you would know that this had been nominated in 2025-26 cycle, but as a site, Sarnath had been in the tentative list since 1998. So Sarnath is now our 45th site under UNESCO Tangible Heritage List, and 44th was Maratha military landscape, which we discussed already. This is a significant development because it is important as soft power also, because it's a Buddhist site. Therefore, at the 48th session in Busan in South Korea, the UNESCO has now accepted Sarnath. Now you need to know 3 to 4 reasons why it has been nominated. Second, you should also know the basic things about Sarnath because now it is an important site. So firstly, it has been added to the representative list, 48th session, 45th site. But as I said, it has been in the tentative list for a very long time. Now this brings us to this concept of what is called as nomination, tentative list, representative list. See, first, every country creates what is called as an inventory. Inventory happens when you actually nominate a site to be added into the tentative list. When it is in the tentative list, then when the session happens, only the sites which are there in the tentative list can be further nominated for the representative list. Therefore, see, Sarnath was added to the tentative list in 1998, which would have meant that in 1997-98 cycle, it would have been nominated by India to be added into the tentative list. Then from 1998 to 2025, it was in the tentative list, never internally nominated. And then in 25-26 cycle, it was internally nominated for the representative list. And then this year in 2026, it has now been added to the representative list. So you have to understand every site goes through this process. First, Maratha military landscape into the tentative list, then into representative list. This concept is mains oriented also. So you should know the difference of a site being in tentative list and a site being in representative list. Difference being World Heritage Committee would have accepted it into the representative list. Now, this explains to us the process. Now, why is Sarnath a World Heritage Site? Now, if you go to the story of the, you can say, enlightenment of Buddha, Sarnath is the place where he gave his first sermon, and therefore Sarnath is the place where the Dharmachakra Pravartana happened, which is the wheel of Dharma started to turn. Siddhartha became Buddha, and Buddha gave his first sermon at Sarnath. This is the first important aspect about Sarnath. Sarnath is very critical in Southeast Asian Buddhism, in East Asian Buddhism, and generally it is referred to in every, you can say, canonical text, be it Pali, Prakrit, or be it the Japanese version or the Mandarin versions. The idea is very simple, that this moment is very important in Buddhist history. Therefore, Sarnath is very important. Therefore, it can be used for diplomatic purposes also. The reason why it so easily got accepted was also this. Now, the name comes from Sagarnatha, the lord of the deer. Deer is an animal, represents Buddha, and it has had other names also. But the reason why Sarnath is in the representative list now is because of the following monuments which are there. First is an exception in stupa architecture, which is called as the Dhamekh Stupa. Now, what is so interesting about the Dhamekh Stupa is, unlike having the Medhi and the Anda as a hemispherical structure along with the Harmikha and the Yasti and the Chhatra, it actually is represented by the Dharmachakra. Basically, when you look at the chakra from the top, it looks like a circle. Therefore, the cylinder here basically makes a circle, and this is the wheel of Dharma moving. Therefore, the Dhamekh Stupa is actually a exception. Does not have the Harmika or the Yashti also. Therefore, one exceptional, most important, a stupa which represents his enlightenment, Buddha's enlightenment. Second is called the Dharmarajika Stupa, which is considered important because Ashokan period relics of Buddha were added. It is one of the original stupas which has the relics of Buddha. Then we also know from the Dharmarajika Stupa, which is stupa does not exist. However, the structure and the bases exist, which was destroyed in the process of invasions. But the idea is very simple. This Dharmarajika Stupa had a relic inside it mentioned in Pali Prakrit text. Then you have the famous Sarnath capital, and which has three parts basically, which has three parts. 1, 2, 3. Removing the third part, first and second part is actually also our national emblem. Our national emblem comes from Sarnath itself. So therefore, this is the Ashokan pillar, of which the capital figure is only available, of which out of the three parts, 2 is considered to be the most important, our national emblem also. It also houses other stupas and monasteries, but it also has a very interesting connection to Mughal history. This is called the Chaukhandi Stupa. This is called the Chaukhandi Stupa. It is a stupa which has a structure, a Chaukhandi structure, 4-directional Chaukhandi Stupa. It is on the stupa itself. Why is it called Chaukhandi Stupa? Because it commemorates something. A brick stupa crowns with an octagonal Mughal tower. So 4-directional and 8 sides. Chaukhandi Stupa, and this was actually added by Govardhan, who is the son of Todarmal, and it was added during Akbar's period to commemorate the visit of Humayun during Battle of Chausa to the Sarnath complex itself. So from Mauryan till Mughal, this site has a lot of interesting concepts inside it. That is why it was so easy for the UNESCO World Heritage Committee to accept it. From Dhamekh Stupa, which represents the moment of enlightenment, first sermon, also the Dharmarajika, along with that the national emblem also comes out of the Sarnath capital, and the Chaukhandi Stupa, which is a very interesting Mughal history, that when after Battle of Chausa, during Battle of Chausa, Humayun visits the Sarnath sector. Later in 1588, Govardhan, the son of Raja Todarmal, is going to then create a 4-directional, octagonal, 8-sided, you can say minar, or you want to call it tower, over a stupa itself to mark that Humayun had come. So that ways, it is a site which deserves to be in the UNESCO World Heritage Committee. But when we talk about the concept itself, we have to understand that now there are certain facts which are important for the examination. So representative list is the first thing. Second thing is that it is 48th session. Third thing is that it is the 45th site. Last site was Maratha military landscape. You also have to remember, added in 1998, not immediately added to the tentative list. And you should also be able to write the name of all the major. For anybody who's writing the mains this year, becomes very important. Dhamekh Stupa, the Dharmarajika Stupa, along with that the Chaukhandi Stupa, and also Sarnath pillar and our national emblem, all become very, very important. Whatever is written on this first slide is extremely important, and therefore you should be able to now Remember this, and you should be able to write it in the mains examination. Prelims question is slam dunk. So I hope that now you will remember Sarnath representative list. Why is it in representative list? Because of this, and which site? 45th. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.